mass housing, for joint projects on mass housing. I'll manage to get real estate capital into it, I'll get government capital into it, and not for high quality housing, but for the lowest, shared toilets, etc. Then I get place for people to stay, people to come in, settle down here. And when the labor is available, why will industry go to Chittagong in a foreign country where they cannot? It'll have to be it is, but the way it happens is that the garment industry in Bangalore is concentrated from the west to the south. It's a bring there. So those are the wards that would be concerned with it. If I ask the ward in BEL to be concerned with that, they're not going to be. And they shouldn't be. It's not their immediate concern. Right? Just as you have the IT belt from the east to the south, the garment is from the south to the west. So that you have to look at that. And look at bottom 5% in terms of assets. We chose a set of 12 assets and then indicated how much of that you own. Right? Then took the houses according to then we ranked them all for the entire city. The bottom 5% of the houses was the...
What are the income levels?
We did not deliberately take the income levels because income is something that's very difficult to capture in a questionnaire. You don't know. If I ask you what is your income, no, even if they tell you, I mean, if you're in a government job, do you take your DA into account? Do you take what you got last time? Do you take your Provident Fund into account? I mean, the whole thing, it's not an easy number to come up with in others. So look at the assets in my household. It gives you, it's generally seen as a better thing. The other way of doing it is look at expenditure of the household. We have gone for assets as a longer term. Expenditure typically will be over a week for best results. More than that, there's a recall bias. So we have gone for assets as a longer term indicator of well-being, of economic well-being.
But assets sometimes during the voting now they're giving mixie, TV, this.
Their quality of life has gone up. The fact of the matter, however they get it. Right, one of the people households we went to was a worker in a movement company, in this shifting, one of the Agarwal, a logistics company, right? And he had all these things because some people as they shift houses, okay, they will forget it, you take it, right? But as far as they are concerned, you can't just take his wage as his quality of life. His actual thing is the assets. He has all these assets, so to that extent, it is a part of his earning.
These things is available today.
Right.
These things are available.
Within that.
In fact, some they take 3 houses
Right.
and they let out actually.
Yeah, actually,
One or two more.
One, yeah.
Regarding this research team, now I'm a researcher. If I want to be a part of any kind of public research or something like that, is there any public forum to register myself to do the kind of social work?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, we don't have informal networks of either ideas or for research. At least I don't think we do. Maybe there are some institutions that allow for that. But there's periodic projects that come up where people can get involved in that.
How should I know about it?
I think connectivity with institutions would be your best bet. I don't know what your field is. Whichever field is, if you can look at those institutions, that might be your best bet.
Sir, in Bangalore we have more than 500 slums in Bangalore. Comes under different authorities and different bodies. Still the slums are considered as slums from past 40, 50 years. So how to transform these slums into model colonies? So it has become the vote banks now. The slums has become the vote bank.
But actually, Bangalore, as opposed to some of the other cities, what our data is showing is the development of slums is relatively better. So much so that the very poor or the poorest are not living so much in them. So that's what our data is showing compared to what we find in other cities. And this is not just a problem of our sample. We took some of these indicators and looked at the census data, which the census data is all, and it's consistent with that. So essentially, I mean, because this result, and people were very surprised we got these results that slums are, and they said, no, there must be something wrong. So then we cross-checked with the census. Once again, you find the same pattern. So what's happened is that, you see, we don't like to give credit where it's due, but our slum development boards have not done as badly as people say.
So what about the people who are not living in the slum? I don't know that the people who are really staying in the roadside homes.
Yeah, homeless is an issue that's not dealt with here. It's dealt with more seriously in cities with extreme climates, including Delhi, has homeless shelters, etc. Because otherwise people will die of the cold. Right? Here, because of the fact that you're not necessarily at that extreme, you tend to take it less seriously, which you shouldn't. I'm not saying you should, but that's the way it is.
I think that's a valid point. Actually, slum is not the real issue in Bangalore, and it's really the homeless.
That's why the important thing would be to shift to the availability of facilities. Focus more on that rather than targeting the poor, targeting the institutions or the facilities that the poor need, like hospitals, like thing would be.
There is a beggar colony in Bangalore, but you know, sometime there we came across some sort of, a very big tragedy in the beggar colony also. But you know, if you are bringing that roadside people into the beggar colony also, the maintenance is not proper as such like, and why the economists are not considering that kind of category?
No, you could. I mean, getting that category as if you're doing a census, I can do it. If I'm doing a sample survey, it gets difficult.
That should be